Welcome to the Stadium Journey podcast. We are proud to be part of the HIAC Talk Radio Network. Thanks for joining us today. We are Stadium Journey, that is, the internet leader in stadium reviews for the traveling sports fan. You can check out all 2,600 of our stadium, ballpark, and arena reviews on our website, stadiumjourney.com. Also, check us out on social media. We're on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can follow us at Stadium Journey. And the Stadium Journey podcast and all HIAC Talk Radio's content can be found at thebradyhicks.com or look us up on VOC Nation on iTunes Radio. You can follow the HIAC Talk Radio Network on Twitter at HIAC Talk Radio. And if you'd rather watch your sports talk, all the HIAC Talk Radio podcasts are now available on YouTube.com/DanLaw83. And Stadium Journey has our own YouTube channel now, so you can follow us there, subscribe to that channel. Our video podcast will be there soon. Now, let me take a second and introduce our starting lineup. We've got Dave Cotney. You can follow him at ProFan9. Mark Viquez is here. You can be followed at Ballpark Hunter. And you can follow our producer, Dan Calachico, at DanLaw83. And I am Paul Baker. You can follow me at PuckmanRI. And before we jump into our topic this evening, which is 2019, the year in review, let's start out with a quick review of some of the places we've been to since we last all got together. Dave, you want to lead us off today?
Sure thing. I can do that.
Caught her by surprise. I went out of order.
There's an order? There's an order? Apparently.
You're out of order. You're all out of order.
Yes. So last week, went and visited an old Canadian barn, hockey barn. Last time we were here, we were talking about, Mark was talking about his trip to Bowling Green. And I think he referred to it as a classic hockey barn. And I thought about it, and it just didn't sit right with me that, I didn't see Bowling Green as a hockey barn. And I figured it out. So I was at the Capri Pizzeria Recreation Complex, which is the home of the Windsor Lancers hockey team. And they play in an old hockey barn. And Bowling Green, to me, plays in an old hockey bunker. A little bit different. And I think the difference really is the shape of the roof. So the Windsor has got this peaked roof with the kind of tinfoil insulation up there. I haven't been in a spot like this in a long time. It was see your breath cold. And they had the old school kind of propane heaters where you got to make sure you got the right seat in the stand so that you get maximum heat as a fan. It was an okay spot, I guess, for OUA hockey. A decent crowd considering that the place was off campus, and a good size for the rink because it was about, I think the capacity was about 500, and they were probably about halfway to 3/4 full. So much better than what I'm used to. At Laurier, which is a capacity of 3,000 with about 100 people in there. And they were super nice to me. The lady from Windsor came out and met me at the door and wondered if I had any questions. And I did have a couple, and she had gone and looked stuff up. I wanted to know when the arena was built, and she couldn't tell me. She actually went to the city, and they couldn't tell her, and they actually had to look up the original building permit. So that was pretty awesome.
What was the year?
It was 1969 was the building permit, so we decided that it was built in 1970.
50 years.
So, yeah. But it was good. Always good to get, the royal treatment there. After that, it was to the Scotiabank Arena. Went with my wife, and I have to give a big shout out to my wife's client and our friend Dr. McGregor, who every year he is super generous, gave us a pair of Leaf tickets. He recently has been sending us to the game when they play the Avalanche, because he knows that's my favorite team. And talk about primo seats. Row 21 in the end. They are pretty darn good. And we didn't sell the seats to get, like, you know, a mortgage payment or two. Because they're good, but they're expensive. Then Saturday, I was in Buffalo at the, I would say, the crown jewel of the National Lacrosse League. So it was KeyBank Center, which is the home of the Buffalo Bandits. And, you know, just a great atmosphere there. You know, funny, it's one of these love or hate kind of things. They have an announcer there who's a lot more of an announcer. And I mean, to me, he's a mixture between announcer, play-by-play, and fan, and sort of makes comments here, there, and everywhere. And, you know, some of the really old school purists don't like that. But, you know, it's, yeah, like you.
Yeah, I don't like that. I'm glad I don't have to do that at either of my jobs.
But it's, you know, it's different. And, hey, let's face it. Here's what's most important. The fans of Buffalo like it.
Well, it's Buffalo.
And
they like to jump off of trucks onto plastic tables and stuff.
Well, that's true. But none of those people were at the Bandits game, because they were all, like, resting up for their RV table jumping the next day. But yeah, lacrosse is back in gear. The real lacrosse, not that outdoor spacey stuff.
Big crowd.
Hey, update upcoming programming. We will have someone from the Boston Cannons joining us in either February or March. So
Awesome.
well, I'll finally get somebody on my side from the field lacrosse spectrum of things.
No, I'm kidding. I like field lacrosse, but to me, totally different. They're just like, it's like the difference between
Indoor football and outdoor football?
yeah. Well,
Indoor
I don't like
soccer and outdoor
football.
soccer?
Outdoor football and arena football. How's that? And that was my trips for the week.
Nice. A lot more exciting than mine, which we'll get into a minute. Mark, how about you?
Well, it's high school basketball season here in Indiana, and I decided to check out the Muncie Fieldhouse, which had been closed for 2 years, because back in November of 2017, a tornado swept through Muncie and did some damage to the structure of the building. So there was some doubt that they would be able to play basketball there again. The facility was built in 1928. It's one of the oldest and one of the largest for its size of its kind in Indiana. So when it opened up for its first games, pretty exciting. So what they did is they put up a new floor. They took the old court and saved some of the signage, and they hung it up on the outdoor concourse. They added a new entrance with some of the wood. Looks really nice. And, you know, I talk about the gyms here a lot in Indiana, but Muncie is a classic field house. It's not just a high school gym. At one time, it was the town's civic center arena. That's where you saw concerts. That's where you had dances. That's where political rallies were held. And almost, you know, over 90 some years later, place is still an amazing venue to walk in and watch a game. So I'm very excited that building is back in operation. They're having a doubleheader this Friday, and they're hoping to pack the house. Wasn't quite sellout when I was there, but this Friday they're hoping for a packed house. Went to East Chicago, which is the second largest gym in the state, technically the world. That sits well over, 8,000 people. And nice crowd. Most of it was on the bottom of the gym. The top was closed off because it's just such a massive building that there's no way they're going to get a lot of people for a game. But, once again, that's a newer facility built about 30 years ago. Glenn Robinson made the place famous when he was there. And it's a nice looking gym. It's not going to knock the socks off you. It has a nice trophy case and memorabilia section on the outside of the building. Nice little part of East Chicago, not too far from the city. So, at the point now where I'm just trying to get to as many high school gyms as I can and try to tell a story. But I'm with Dave there. Sometimes you go to a gym and nobody knows when the building was made. Everybody gives you a different answer. Well, the school was built in 1968, but they didn't play here. They played here the second year. Or the gym was here before the high school. Or, it's just amazing that no one knows when a building was first played. We're not talking about something that's been there for hundreds of years. We're talking about a building that's not even 50 years old. And that was the case at Gary, which is another giant gym. Gary Westside High School. Everybody can tell me when the school was built, but everybody gave me a different year for the gym. So just like Dave's hockey barn, I'm picking 1969 because that seems to be the consensus of what people told me. So it's just part of the journey as well. So high school basketball, definitely filling up my time here in Indiana and plan to hit a few more before the season ends.
Nice. That's a never-ending source of new places for you to visit too, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, and here's another thing: when you visit these gyms, somebody's like, "You got to go to this gym. You got to go to this gym," and it might be a 2,000 seater, but when you look at pictures of it, you're like, "Wow, this place is nice." And it's a small little town, kind of way off the beaten path. And if you get there on the right night against the right rival, just an amazing experience. So,
like you said, it's more than just the gym. It's the center. It's the hub of the town.
It is, and especially some of these older gyms where there's grandfathers and great grandfathers that can tell you stories about going to games there. So I'm glad these places are still in existence, and I'm glad that there's certain cities in Indiana where you can still draw a pretty huge crowd just for a normal game, not just a sectional or rival.
All right, so that wraps up your fortnight. A fortnight is 2 weeks, am I right?
Fortnight?
A fortnight is 2 weeks, I think.
What?
I wanted to use a big word there.
A Fortnite is a stupid video game that children play, and they do dumb dances after it.
Yeah, your son taught my wife a dance.
Yes.
Yeah.
Fortnite dances, yes.
The Fortnite dances. Yeah, that wraps things up. I wanted to hit a few more places in Chicago, but I wanted to go to the Northwest basketball game, but the wife let me out to go to a couple gyms, so got to make some pros and cons. Because if it was up to me, I wouldn't even be around the family. I'd be visiting some collegiate or high school gyms. So that was at high school, but it was enough for me for now.
I'd like to point out. Sorry, I'd like to point out that I am testing Dan's ability not to talk as he's texting here about the virtues of Fortnite.
Fortnite,
hey, our resident video gamer, right?
Yeah.
All right. So speaking of kids doing dumb dances, I had a bunch of Providence Bruins games the last couple of weeks. We're not going to talk about those. Had another Boston Pride game. They are now 11-0 on the season and just dominating the NWHL. We're not going to talk about Warrior Ice Arena either because we've done that. I hit a couple of Division III basketball games the past week. I don't know if I talked about Worcester Polytechnic Institute. I don't know. Nice. My time is all mixed up. So before a Pride game, I had a morning. Pam was away, so I was like, "What am I going to do with myself?" I didn't want to sit at home alone, so I went and caught a game up in Worcester on the way up to Boston. WPI, beautiful little campus in a not so beautiful city. Anybody who's listened to the show before knows I'm not a huge fan of Worcester, and that was even before the whole Woo Sox things went on. But WPI is very, very prestigious school, one of the first research institutes, technological and research institutes in the country, usually in the top 100, any top 100 list you see. An interesting thing about their gym, Harrington Auditorium, is it's located right on the main quad. Like usually on a college campus, the athletic buildings are kind of tucked away in a corner where there's a little more space. The gym is right there on the quad, which was pretty cool. Nothing really spectacular about the building. You went in, nice lobby that they had just redone. They have their school athletic hall of fame. You go around the lobby onto a track that goes around the court on the second level, so you can kind of stand there if you'd like, or you could walk over to the bleachers. All the seating was on one side. Bleachers at the bottom, seats at the top, which was kind of different. Not a big crowd, about 250 people, and it was a good game. So that was WPI. Not a whole lot to say about that. And I've also been doing some games at UMass Dartmouth. Been working them. I'm happy to say I'm one of the PA guys for UMass Dartmouth basketball. So spent a lot of time there at Tripp Athletic Center. Again, not an exciting venue in itself, but if you are an architecture nerd, you will enjoy the UMass Dartmouth campus. If you check out my review that is up on Stadium Journey right now, I put a couple pictures of the campus. Paul Rudolph designed this campus back in the early 70s, and he is very well known for his brutalist designs. He's done some famous buildings like the Government Center in Boston. So for those of you who aren't architecture nerds, and I'm certainly not, but I did a little research, so that's how I know what I know. Brutalist is done in concrete and very geometric in its design, so everything's angles and straight lines and stuff. So if you ever go to UMass Dartmouth, it looks like a bunch of spaceships just kind of sat down in this giant open field, and it's always makes the list of ugliest campuses in the country. So, and the Tripp Athletic Center, if you're not looking for it, you're going to miss it, because the UMass Dartmouth is kind of uniquely structured. All the buildings, the main buildings, there's actually only two of them. They're very long. They take up the length of the campus. They are located within a circular road, and the newer buildings are on the other side of the road, kind of in the woods. So Tripp Athletic Center is a gray concrete building hidden by trees on the wrong side of the tracks. So it's really hard to find. But, like WPI, they got about 200 people a game. So if you like some cheap quality sports, Division III basketball is always worth looking at. But nothing spectacular about either of the places I went to.
Yeah, that's interesting that you talk about Division III basketball. Indiana has a bunch of small Division III basketball venues that I have even thought about going to. So it's there's a lot within an hour away from me. So I'm kind of curious what they look like. But not brutalist design, though. I know what you mean. I see a lot of city halls that have that.
Yeah.
Oh, I call it early 70s look.
And that's exactly when this campus was built.
Like from Conquer of the Planet of the Apes, where that took place. That's what it always reminds me of.
It's a very cold drab campus.
Oof.
Yeah, Dave.
Speaking of not superly popular sports, right now, believe this or not, right now on TSN 5 here in Canada, I see that UMass is beating Brown 1-0 in hockey.
Good for them.
That is one of those you called, what did you call it? Visible breath cold or something like that?
Yeah. See your breath cold kind of places?
Every time I go to Meehan Arena, it's freezing. You gotta wear your winter coat into the game, even if it's nice outside.
So there you go. How you like that? Like Canadian television showing Rhode Island life.
Hey, and since we're on, we're also streaming on Twitch right now. I want to give a shout out to Angelo, who's listening to us, joined us on Twitch. I hope this is a pleasant experience, man. You're gonna have to tell me. Even though I work for an NWHL team and Twitch is how they share their games, and I've subscribed, I'm still not fluent in Twitch yet. I'm showing my age there, but
oh my gosh,
I look forward to.
Too?
What's that?
It's a language too.
Twitch is a language?
I'm asking.
I don't know.
I'm with you, man. I don't have a clue.
Oh, if somebody teaches me, I'll learn it.
Yeah.
So
well, now that the Pride have their next 8 games on the road, I'm gonna have to, if I want to get my Pride fix, I gotta go onto Twitch. So thanks, Angelo, for joining us, man. And I hope we get some more listeners. So our topic today is our best experiences, our favorite experiences of the year 2019. And before we started last week, I reached out to our listeners and I wanted to get some other input as to what some of our readers, what their favorite trips were. And I got some great responses, so I want to just share a couple here, give some shout outs here. And I'm going to give everybody's Twitter handle because I don't want to reveal anybody's anonymity here. So our buddy Eddie Hoops was at Ichiro's retirement game in Tokyo.
Oh.
So that's an experience right there, man. That is an awesome one. Dave LB87 said his most memorable experience was going to Buffalo from Cleveland to see the Columbus Blue Jackets take home a must-win while they were driving for the playoffs and getting stuck in a blizzard on his way back to Cleveland. Lake effect snow, man. You only get it in Buffalo, right? Who else we got? We got our buddy Dwight Schmidt. He went to his first Q-League game this year in Drummondville, and he happened to be at the game where Rayon Noranda's record 25-game win streak was stopped in front of a packed crowd in Drummondville.
That's impressive. I think that guy lives in like Spokane or something.
Does he?
I think so. I think he's a West Coast guy, isn't he?
No,
Yeah,
I thought he was. I thought he was like an upstate New Yorker.
Well,
Well, it's even more impressive if he's from Spokane. Our listener, Joe Safety 33, went to the Heritage Classic in Regina. I remember us talking about that. And then a month later went back to see a CFL game. As he said, the change in it was awesome. It was great for him to see two sports in one place like that. In the ballparks, Michael Harris, a great fan of the show, went to his first Mexican Baseball League game. And he said he couldn't get over the difference between the atmosphere at the games compared to American games. And our buddy Lloyd Rothwell finished his 30 MLB tour this year, and his highlights, he said, were Camden Yards, Philly, and Seattle this summer. And he also was at the first ever game at the Bank West Stadium in Parramatta. So I think that's in the Australian Rugby League. So thanks everybody for sharing some of your best experiences of 2019. So let's get, huh?
I like that, how we took some callers' letters, sort of like Casey Kasem doing the top 40.
Man,
nice.
there are some awesome experiences in there, and just we get to share our little window here of experiences, but there's just so much out there. You could never do it all. Thanks everybody for sharing that.
Note to selves: next year we put them at the end because I'm not sure we can top.
We can't top
Ichiro's retirement game.
Yeah. You're absolutely right, Dave.
Or going to Australia. I've never been there, so.
From here. So we got some categories. We're going to break up our experiences into categories. So we're going to start with our favorite game of the year, and we'll each take a shot at it. So, Mark, what was the best game you were at this year?
The best game that I was at, just for the energy and the rivalry, was the USL Championship Eastern Conference final. Louisville City, the two-time defending champions, versus the upstart Indy 11, was played here in Indianapolis. Not a full crowd, but very close. It was everywhere you went, there were fans leaning against the fencing. It was a nice, cool, brisk day. The leaves were brown and the trees in the background. It was a little wet from the rain the day before, but very exciting game. Indy held a 1-0. There's an airplane up above me, of course, when I'm talking. Indy held a 1-0 lead with about 90 seconds to go in extra time. And wouldn't you know it, Louisville scores the equalizer, sends it to overtime, and winds up winning 3-1. Just broke everybody's heart at the game. In fact, I was behind the goal recording the fans as they were cheering. I've never heard their supporter group so loud in my life. And you felt good for them because this is a club that's been supported very well since the get-go. And they want an MLS team. They want their own soccer stadium, and it's just not happening quick enough. And I don't know when it's going to happen. But I was like, you know what? I'm not a huge Indy 11 fan, but these guys are diehard fans. I'll be here next week watching the game. And then for the game to get tied, and then Louisville with their crew, because they brought like 400 people from down the road, you start hearing them cheering. It just it was something else, and I don't think Indy's ever had that type of rivalry with another club. I know that when the Cosmos would come in, they would cuss them out, and when Cincinnati would come in, they would bring some fans. But Louisville's 2 hours south. A big game like this, Louisville's going to bring its fans. Indy will do the same. But I mean, to be up 1-0 with a chance to go to the championship that you're going to host the next week and then lose it, heartbreaking. And that's just how sports are. I'm not there to really watch the game, but I was pulling for Indy. I was like, okay, Louisville won it twice. Let Indy take its chance. And to see Louisville come and take it away from them was devastating. I felt bad for Indy, and it's a hard journey to make it that far, and we'll see what happens in 2020. But that was my best experience, my best game this year.
Nice, Dave. How about you? Best game this year?
Well, my best game was also a rivalry game, and it was a renewed rivalry game, and it doesn't seem that long ago, much like Mark's, which I remember hearing about not too long ago. So a month ago. My best game was the Battle of Waterloo in football this year. And in that, Waterloo has been a program that has been down for a number of years. And the last couple, they have sort of come back to life. They this past season that just ended, they had their first win in the playoffs in I want to say 20 years. The year before that, they had made the playoffs for the first time in 15 or something like that. So the rivalry is renewed. Now, Laurier this year, bad start, got some bad wins, and this was the second last regular season game of the year for us. Must win. And it was on the Thursday before Thanksgiving, and a back and forth. We had 4 players on both teams with over 100 yards rushing. It was tied with 0.6 seconds left, and the Waterloo kickers just got to kick a 40-yarder, which he had done before, and he had done in that game. No problem. Waterloo goes on. Well, Laurier did the impossible. They did the only possible thing they could, because even if Waterloo misses the field goal and they keep it in the end zone, that's a point. Canadian football, that's a rouge. And then Waterloo gets to walk away with a 1-point victory. So the only thing Laurier can do is block it, and that's what they do. The place goes bananas. And keep in mind, both schools are in the same town, so there's kind of home field advantage, but not really. And then we go into overtime, and then it's that shootout format where each team gets a shot at from the 35, back and forth. As the game went on, it seemed like Waterloo's quarterback Trey Ford, every time somebody blinked, it was a broken play, and this dude loves broken plays. Oh, broken play, great! I get to run more. Woo! He'd fly off somewhere, and wow, we got him. It's 2nd and 9. Oh, broken play. You ran for 12 yards. Bummer. So back and forth. We took a roughing the passer penalty on one of their touchdowns, so we got backed up to the 50. So we throw a 46-yard touchdown to tie it again in the third overtime, held Waterloo to a field goal. It was Laurier's at the end. Laurier had the last shot, and we threw a touchdown pass in the back of the end zone for the absolute huge win. The final was Laurier 53, Waterloo 50. And it sure looked like we were all heading to the playoffs at that point, until the next week when Laurier laid the biggest egg of the season. And once again, 2 years in a row, we were left on the outside looking in. with Waterloo making it into the playoffs. So it's going to be another next year. So that was mine, 53-50, 3 overtimes. Why? I think this is the third time. I think every time I've done this, it's always been a football game.
I think so. All right. Well, I couldn't pick one game for mine because I got two games that I was at that were eerily similar. Both Boston Bruins games. So let's flash back to March 7th. Bruins against the Panthers. Panthers are up 3-2. Final minute of the game. Bruins pull a goalie. Matt Grzelcyk scores with 47 seconds left. Place goes nuts. But wait, they're not done yet. With 7 seconds left, Patrice Bergeron scores to win the game. This was only the 6th time in NHL history that a team had tied the game and then won it in the final minute of regulation. So that was something. Yeah, but then, not to be outdone, just a few weeks ago on November 23rd, Bruins were playing the Wild. Wild were up 4-2 with 2 minutes left. Bruins pull a goalie. David Krejci scores on a slap shot to close the gap to 1 with 1:55 left. And then 48 seconds later, from an impossible angle, I think he was down on the goal line over by the boards, scores to tie the game, send it into overtime. And in overtime, Torrey Krug on a Bobby Orr-style rush from behind his own net, length of the ice, ends up the defense for some reason split like the Red Sea, right up the middle, breakaway, won the game. So the Garden was just bonkers on both those nights. So those were my two best games, just because of the incredible, unbelievable ways that they finished. So those are my choices. Maybe that means I've been to a lot of boring games. No, I don't think so. Those were just awesome. So our next category would be our favorite experience of the year. So Mark, again, we'll start off with you.
All right, favorite experience. And I think I picked this one just based on the recent news of the possibility of Major League Baseball contracting 40 to 42 minor league teams. I went to Community Field in Burlington, Iowa, which is the smallest town to host a full season minor league baseball club in the country. And Burlington, Iowa is a very small town. It's not near an interstate. It's along the Mississippi. And for the past several decades, they've been home to minor league baseball. They've been home to the Bees. And if you ever see a game there, it is a stark reminder of what minor league baseball was once like in many cities across the country. A grass parking lot. It was a stadium that was built, burnt down, rebuilt, built again. It has some quirky little designs just because of its history. And I have a friend who lives out there. We went to the game. There was a third base bar down in the stadium that is at field level. And everybody just hangs out there, drinks. It was Thursday, so it was Thirsty Thursday. He bumped into some friends from high school or people that he grew up with. Felt like I was back in college again, just hanging out with a bunch of girls. If only my wife was there, she might have put the kibosh on it, but it was guys' night. So we're hanging out there watching the game. And the 9th inning rolls around, and I look at the scoreboard. The home team has a no-hitter going on. Unbeknownst to me at the time, because I'm too busy drinking, I'm too busy talking.
Stop looking at the girls, Mark.
I wasn't even looking at the girls. I was into the chicken lips. It's this local delicacy. It's a chicken tender that they dip in buffalo sauce and they serve on a bun. I was more into that, but yeah, I was having a good time, having a few beers and talking to some of the shareholders, or at least I think they're shareholders, about the history of the ballpark. So, just if I was there by myself, I don't know if I would be having that much fun not to notice what was going on the field. No hitter. 1 out in the 9th. I see the PR guy. We look at each other. We know what's going on. You can't say anything. I have never seen a no-hitter in my life in person. And runner on first due to a walk. Guy hits this towering shot down left field. It looks like it's going to be caught, but the left fielder keeps going and going and going back. Finally, you hear a ding off the wooden billboard sign. Gone. Home run, no-hitter over. lead over, and I'm like, oh, that close to see a no hitter. And I leave the game, and I'm like, yeah, that was a good time. I had a lot of fun that night. And then when you hear the stories about people, wanting to get rid of towns like Burlington and Quad Cities and Clinton and Batavia, you're just reminded of how simple going to a baseball game can be and enjoyable. So that definitely ranks up my favorite experience. And there were quite a bit. I mean, the World Series in Omaha was amazing. And there was a few other facilities I went to this year in basketball, high school basketball, that had packed houses that were incredible. But just based on the recent news and how that type of experience could be dissolved in a few years, Burlington, Iowa tops my list.
So you've never seen a no-hitter?
Never seen one in person, no.
How about you, Dave? Ever seen a no-hitter?
I have.
Oh.
I saw one in Columbus. What was the guy's name? It was like Tyler Cloyd. He ended up in Japan like the next year or something. But yeah, my kid, it was kind of at the end of a long road trip. And my kids were like, can we go? And I'm like, no, we can't go. But Dad, it's like 10-0. I don't care. Don't you get it? Look at the scoreboard. Tyler Cloyd, that was what his name was. So yeah,
well,
the Clippers beat the Louisville Bats 13-0 on a no-hitter. It was in 2014.
Well, it's funny when Paul Swaney and I were driving back from Columbia, South Carolina, we were listening to the Mets game, and Steven Matz was throwing a no-hitter. And then when we got to Cincinnati, when we arrived in Cincinnati, both of us sat in the car to listen to the no-hitter instead of me getting out to go to my car. Because Paul's like, well, I guess we got to keep listening to it. We just can't get out of the car. So once, and I think they were playing San Diego, once San Diego got the hit, we're like, okay, I got to get to Michigan. Okay, I got to get to Indy. So that was the only other time I can even recall being connected to a no-hitter live, was with Paul Swaney.
I guess I'm lucky then, because I've not only seen 3 no-hitters, they've all been perfect games.
Perfect games.
All in the minor leagues. 2 at McCoy Stadium in the same year, matter of fact. One was, I believe it was Sonny Kim. He was a Korean pitcher. And then Bronson Arroyo threw one.
Oh, Bronson Arroyo.
Those I don't know. You kind of count them, kind of can't count them because I was working too. But it was one of those things. Once it got later in the game.
It counts.
Yeah, once we were later in the game, we weren't working. We were watching.
Working.
Huh?
Beer? What do you mean beer? Look at the scoreboard.
And now you won't be able to see them anymore in Pawtucket.
Exactly. And then I saw a combined perfect game in Batavia, of all places, on one of our big trips.
Wow, that's another city that's on the chopping block. That's,
a lot of them are. 42 of them are, huh?
Yeah, I guess the odds are there, but hopefully that doesn't happen.
Yeah, we'll see.
So we'll see. It could be a lot of smoke in the air.
Yeah. All right, Dave. Best experience for you this year?
Yeah, so I had a bunch to choose from, as I'm sure we all do. So my runner-ups are the Winnipeg Jets.
I didn't know we had runner-ups.
The Tampa Bay Lightning, Notre Dame hockey, but I actually decided to go with my New Year's Day. So the first day of the year.
It was all downhill from there.
It was all downhill from there. So number 1 for me was the Citrus Bowl at Camping World Stadium in Orlando, and it was this past season it was Penn State and Kentucky, and I was pretty positive that Penn State was going to travel well, and they did, and I was very pleasantly surprised with how well Kentucky traveled, and I was hoping that Kentucky would win. The game was great. It was really close on the field, and Kentucky did end up pulling it out. But all of those other things, so Camping World Stadium being basically a stadium that's used for high school football and a few bowl games and, concerts and whatnot, I really expected it to be pretty subpar. And I got to meet our Stadium Journey buddy, Chris Green, down there. He was working on the field taking pictures. And first thing he said, what do you think of the stadium? And I said, honestly, it's way better than I ever expected. And I mean, it's not, this modern marvel or anything like that. But for a bowl game in Orlando, which is a great place for a bowl game, it was perfect. But I think probably what put it over the top was the pregame experience. So, for me to go to the bowl game, what do I have to do? I got to figure out something else. And bowl day was also outlet shopping day. So my wife and daughter dropped my son and I off, and they want to maximize their time at the mall, which is great, and I get it. And I said, well, you can drop us off at 9:00. Field's open, the tailgate opens at 9:00, and I'm like, we'll walk in, we'll walk around, it'll be quiet, no way. It was packed, 9:00 in the morning, packed, and they had a ton of stuff. We got an awesome picture. Funny enough, the picture of my son and myself with the Citrus Bowl trophy. I think my son was about a foot shorter than he is currently. So there's one piece right there. But they had just a ton of stuff. They had a band. Being that Camping World was the sponsor, that had a ton of RVs that you could walk in and look around and go, dream of affording one day, I guess. They had all of these inflatables, like they had human foosball, which Jackson played with some other people in there. They had, these football running drills and stuff, and we just had the absolute greatest time. And warning, Gator Bowl, you're up next. You got big shoes to fill. So Citrus Bowl, that was my experience of the year.
Nice. Hey, Dan popped up in chat. He says his favorite moment of the year was Fitzner Stadium closing.
Yeah, because you got a nice, shiny new stadium next year.
Hey, can't say I disagree. That was, if not the worst minor league ballpark I've ever been to. It was in the top 2.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, so you guys talk about me being a snob with baseball, and there's places like that kicking around.
Yeah.
The rarity, yeah. I can't believe it lasted that long. I don't know if it had to do with the league it was in or its location, but I'm shocked it lasted that long as a facility, because those type of buildings were being redone or destroyed 20 years ago.
Yeah. One of those places where they had a million plans to replace it, but none of them ever came to fruition. Yeah. So they'll be playing in nearby Fredericksburg next year, right?
Yeah.
All right.
The Fred Nats.
So on to my best experience, and I'm going to cheat. I have 2, so I'll go quickly. And one of them was, like you, Dave, my best experience was on January 1st. And I'm talking about the Winter Classic at Notre Dame Stadium this year. So that was a real lot of fun. We usually take a big hockey trip every winter. It's usually based around the AHL All-Star Game. But since the AHL All-Star Game was in Springfield, Mass, right up the road from us, we said, you know what? We got to do something else. And the NHL accommodated us and put the Bruins in the Winter Classic. So we headed off to Indiana, and it was a great day. New Year's Day, it wasn't too cold. It was about 30 degrees. So it was warm enough where you could wander around the Notre Dame campus, and it is a beautiful campus. And, saw the Golden Dome and Touchdown Jesus, who I rechristened Goal Selly Jesus that day. A lot of people there, Blackhawk fans, Bruins fans, and on a day like that, everybody's buddies. We're not rivals on that day. It was a great experience. I had always heard about the anthem at Chicago Stadium, where everyone just screams at the top of their lungs, and do that in a sold-out football stadium. It was pretty awesome, and the game was good too. So this was my 3rd Winter Classic, and I've enjoyed every one of them. I wouldn't want to do it every year or every day, but it was fun. And Mark, I'm going to pull you in on my other best experience, because I could put this one under best surprise, but it was a great experience. And I'm talking about the College World Series.
Oh,
got to go to Game 1 of the finals, and Mark, you were there too. So
yeah, special appearance.
It was a great time. Especially coming from the Northeast, where college baseball, you can't even say it's a big deal. It's not even a deal. Teams play, we were just talking about Fitzner Stadium being garbage.
Worse than the Fitzner Stadium.
If you've got a set of bleachers that isn't going to fall over in the Northeast, you've got a good ballpark. So to be at a stadium where there's 20,000 people, 27,000 I think was capacity, give or take, to see a sold out crowd and fans who are into the game and all of the standing room in the outfield, the rush. The way they have it set up is if you've got a general admission, you line up outside the ballpark, and then they open the gate, and it's kind of a stampede to get the best seats, and it fills up, and then people pack it 3 deep on the top. It was just a great experience, and it wasn't expensive. I mean,
No.
got our tickets for, we paid about $30, I think, for the championship weekend. So
Yeah, that was the game that Michigan.
Yes.
Yeah, that was Michigan's only win.
right.
And what I remember is that it was very nice weather. It was hot, and then I arrived a little bit early, so you had all these events going on. Tents and people selling shirts, and all the bars were packed with fans. So you're talking college baseball as well, which is something I never have a conversation about. College basketball, college football, but not college baseball. So it is a very surreal experience. And you're right, 27,000 seat stadium. Very surreal to me, because I feel like maybe some Major League Baseball stadiums should be that size instead of 50,000.
They did play a game there this year.
They did play a game. So it's, if it's something you can do once in your life, and that's how I looked at it, because I don't know when I'm going to be out to Omaha to see the World Series.
Exactly.
I took advantage of it. I was 2 hours away in Des Moines for our meeting. I said, I'm going. Called the wife up.
Yeah.
She gave me the okay and drove the 9 hours back the next day. Well worth it. Would do it again.
Yeah. It was a great experience. Once we found out that, once we set up this, it was actually the Stadium Journey convention in Des Moines.
Yeah.
And once I realized that the College World Series was going on at the same time, it's like there was not a doubt in my mind that was going to be the dual centerpieces of our summer trip last year. And I would do it again in a heartbeat if I was ever in or around Omaha. I recommend it highly to anybody listening.
Yeah, like I said, cheap, and the hotels are not that expensive either. It's not like you can't find a spot somewhere for $100 or less, or I don't know. Depends what you want to pay for a hotel.
And we found free parking on the street a block away.
Yeah. Yeah, parking was $10. Parking was only $10, so that's not bad either.
It's got to be too good to be true, we were thinking, but it wasn't.
Take advantage.
Yeah, and the atmosphere, like you said, and in addition to the game, the atmosphere in the neighborhood was just fantastic. And the fans from all over. All right, so that's our best experiences. Up next, our best city, our favorite city for the year. So, Mark, we'll lead you off again.
That is a good question, because I don't know what I said last year. I think I might have said Minneapolis, but I spent more time in Minneapolis last year, so...
and now it sucks. No, I'm kidding.
I like Minneapolis.
No, I like Minneapolis, too.
No, I don't want to be there now. It's probably frigid cold up there.
I know Duluth was -7 today.
I've been to Nashville. I think I've said that before. I don't know what to do. I want to say Milwaukee, because Milwaukee is a very fun town. Okay, I'll go with Milwaukee. I was going to say Des Moines, and I think Des Moines it's a surprise, I guess. Maybe I'll add that for surprise, but I got something else for that. I like Milwaukee a lot. I was there with my mom. She liked it. She thought it was very pretty. We saw the new arena. We were there for when they gave the MVP out. They had this giant ceremony outside. That whole area they're redoing is gorgeous. Great beer town, a great food town.
Yes.
If you like German food, if you just like local proprietors, scratch food, or making food that is unique and regional, that's the spot. If you like history, you like to go to a supper club, which are famous around Wisconsin. They're kind of like a restaurant diner. Before anybody yells at me from Wisconsin, it's not like a diner, but I feel like it's your hangout, whereas New Jersey and New England, so is the diner. It's one of those cities that doesn't get a lot of love from many people. It's considered, it's a junky town, but it's full of surprises. Maybe the winter is not the spot, but I mean, they got a great ballpark. They got a new independent ballpark club. They have a college summer league team up there that does a fantastic job with entertainment. A great new basketball arena. Marquette's a great college basketball school. You know, you're right by the lake. You're not far from other places in Wisconsin or Chicago. It's you can spend a long weekend there and keep yourself entertained. So I think Milwaukee is one of those towns I'd love to get back to and spend a little more time just exploring. Not even doing sports. Well, maybe doing sports, but exploring and tasting all the beers and going to all these cool little restaurants I hear people talk about or I read about on the internet. It's just one of those really nice places. And I will be able to entertain myself doing a whole bunch of different activities.
Nice. Yeah.
They also have great indoor soccer and great hockey.
All right. A wonderful choice there. Des Moines is a good small city too. Yeah, that was a lot of fun. All right, Dave, how about you?
You talked all about Milwaukee like that, and not once did you mention the Bronze Fonz.
I did the thumbs up. I did yeah, the Bronze Fonz. Yeah.
We were in Milwaukee twice last year, and if you go back across from the old Bradley Center, there's an old school German restaurant called Mater's, and we went there. It was awesome. The Riverwalk is really nice too. But I thought about Milwaukee. I also thought about Chicago. We ended up not really having a huge summer trip, and my March break trip was one of those go places. So I'm going home. My favorite city of the year was Toronto. Leafs, Raptors, Jays, FC, Ryerson with the Gardens, U of T, like the sports there. Paul hates when I write a Toronto article because I have about 40 links in it. And every time
every team within the whole city limits. Yeah,
that's right. But I've said it before. I don't think there's a Major League Baseball park that has a better location. It is right downtown. There are a ton of things to do, a ton of things to see, a ton of places to go and eat. Just go up and eat in the CN Tower alone. Like that's well worth it. When Lloyd Rothwell came and he did his Toronto swing, he came on, it was like Jersey Day or something. It's one of the few days where people in Toronto go stupid and line up to get into the ballpark 2 hours early. So we went up to the CN Tower and watched them from above. But yeah, the choices are limitless. I can't count the number of times I've been to Toronto. I've been to over 100 Jays games alone, and there's still stuff I know I haven't done. I think part of that is it's home, it's too easy, and I'll get to it someday, and then someday happens or it ends up closing. You're going, damn, why didn't I go to that place? But my city of the year is close to home. It's Toronto.
All right, cool. Can't go wrong with Toronto, that's for sure. All right, so for me, I was going to pick Chicago, and I really enjoyed Chicago, but we went there in January, and we spent like a day and a half, 2 days there, and it was just too cold. We didn't really get to see Chicago. And then another city came along that just blew me away, which I wasn't expecting a lot from, but it turned out to be one of, definitely my top 10 cities in the country that I visited, and that is Denver. So I don't know how much time you guys have spent in Denver, but really, and it probably would be an even better city if I was, say, 25 and not closer to 55.
And single.
It's a great young city with a great nightlife. There's bars everywhere. I mean, it kind of smells funny in different places, but that's all right. That's part of its charm. If you're outdoorsy, there's tons to do. both in and right outside the city. And if you're not outdoorsy, I mean, the shopping center, the buses, the train. I don't know. It's not a tram. It's a bus. They go up and down, and so you can get from one end of the city to the other pretty easily. And it actually worked out well for us because our hotel was right on the bus route, and Coors Field is not far on the other end, so you could go right up, and it saved us about a mile walk. The fans were great. The view from the upper deck of Coors Field is fantastic. When we were up there, we saw 2 games at Coors, and we actually took a quick hop over to Colorado Springs and caught a game there. I wish we would have had some more time to check out Colorado Springs and the Air Force Academy and stuff. But yeah, Denver and the food in Denver, wow. You have to go to Buckhorn Exchange just for the historical aspect of it. Went there, had a bison prime rib, which was just out of this world. Did not try the Rocky Mountain oysters. Sorry, guys.
What about the rattlesnake?
Did have I had a rattlesnake. And what was the drink I had? Buffalo Bill, which was pretty good. It was apple juice and whiskey or something. It was pretty good. Went to a place called Cherry Cricket Burgers, which was one of the best hamburgers I've had anywhere. Went in this little brew pub right near the football stadium as we were kind of just bouncing around the city, and some craft beers, which were fantastic. So the food's great, the sights are great. It was a wonderful city, and I would love to go back there again and spend some more time. So my city of 2019 is Denver.
Love Denver. Love Denver.
Yeah, Denver, many years ago, I had like a voucher, and I wanted to go to Denver because I had not been to the ballpark yet, Coors Field. And when I went to cash it in, they said that due to a technicality, I couldn't use it. So I wound up buying a ticket anyway. And that was one of the first places that I flew out by myself. And I said, I'm just going to go out there. I don't want to travel with anybody. And you're right. It was just one of those young towns. You venture, you meet people, you drink, the scenery, the mountains. I mean, it's just such a cool little cool city. I don't think I'd put it ahead of Portland or Seattle, but Denver is a very charming metropolitan, and I'm always trying to get my wife to go out there to visit. So a lot of people move out there and they fall in love with the place, and you never see them again.
Yeah, I know my close friend Ben. Every time I mention it, his sister lived in Steamboat Springs, Colorado for a while, one of the ski resorts, and he loves going out there. He hasn't been out in a while, and he always said great things about it. So he was very jealous of me this year.
Yeah, and airline tickets are not that pricey depending on where you live, especially from Chicago or Indy. Like from where I live, it's one of the cheapest tickets you can buy. So, it's.
But we learned the airport is not conveniently located to the city. It is way
far.
Outside the city.
About 15, 20 miles, right?
Yeah, we weren't expecting it to be that far. It took us quite a while to get there. Yeah. And then the rental car lots were another 5 miles away from the terminal. All right, so those are best cities, some good ones. We got Milwaukee, we got Toronto, we got Denver. 3 wonderful cities. Okay, so our next category, our biggest surprise for the year. Mark, you're showing a surprised face. What was your biggest surprise this year?
I don't know if I had a huge surprise, but I got to throw out the first pitch this year up in Grand Rapids, Michigan. Dave was there, and I think I was surprised how much my wife enjoyed herself at the game. we had a free suite, and I gave her all the wine she wanted, and next thing I know she's dancing with David's son outside. Well, what was that dance she was doing?
The floss.
The floss. And she was getting really into the floss. And the thing is, when I travel to baseball games, the wife doesn't come, and I'm by myself, and that's fine because that's kind of how I am. But this was one example where I had good friends, I had the wife there, and we all had a very good time. And the reason why I was up there is because I won the fan food vote every year. The Whitecaps have this contest where they ask fans to submit a food item that they would put on the menu. So my item won. It was a deep fried Philadelphia cheesesteak sandwich. No comments, Dan. And waiting for a little burp to come up. and it won.
There it is.
It won. It was the Rocky Bao burrito, and I gotta tell you something. It was pretty damn good. They made it much better than I could ever make it. So I was also surprised how many people were ordering that, because I stood by the concession stand and were counting the number of people.
Did you autograph any?
If I could, I would have, but I think they wanted to eat it and not have magic marker taste on it. So, and I think Jackson liked it too. He enjoyed it. At least he gave it the thumbs up. And I had a little bit to drink as well. So that's always a good time when the wife can enjoy the baseball experience to you. So that was a nice little surprise, and that was nice for Dave to come out there. Thanks for coming out there and supporting that endeavor. And that was a nice surprise. So yeah.
What's funny is you won that contest in Western Michigan, and another one of our correspondents for Stadium Journey, Matt Fiedler, won a contest for the Hartford Yard Goats for a hot dog he developed. I don't know what was on his hot dog, but it was pretty cool that two Stadium Journey writers won food contests.
What are the chances of that? And then I also threw a perfect strike too, or borderline strike. I didn't want to bounce it.
You just took my surprise of the year.
Yeah. Oh,
Mark threw a strike.
Threw a strike. Yeah.
No, I'm kidding.
No. I did prep for that. I did not want to look like a buffoon. And, of course, you threw out the first pitch in Des Moines as well. So we're all over the place doing cool stuff.
I've thrown out 3 first pitches, haven't bounced one yet, haven't airmailed one yet. So I'm proud of myself.
All right.
Dave, how about your big surprise for 2019?
Well, Mark, I was a little surprised that you didn't say the recent Major League Baseball, Minor League Baseball announcements. Now, you did talk about that already.
Yeah.
This one I kind of debated on, probably because they were all so close, like so recent. I was surprised at the poor showing of the Frozen 4 when I went to Buffalo. I was surprised at the ticket prices when I went to buy my tickets, which probably is related. I was also surprised about the minor league baseball, Major League Baseball thing. I don't really want to relive it. I was ridiculously surprised when I got to the doors of Army. And if you want to hear that story, just go to our last episode.
Yes.
I'm gonna go with the episode before that. So this past May, I was in Columbus, Ohio, Nationwide Arena, first home game ever for the Columbus Destroyers. It's also the last season opener for the Columbus Destroyers, as the Arena Football League, we now know, has filed for bankruptcy and they have ceased operations. So a league, and my hat's off to you, Tim Capper, our Stadium Journey pal, for keeping the lamp lit as long as you have. I don't know if you've been following Tim on Twitter. He's been having when you're mourning someone, you wear a black armband or whatever, or he's got like 5 days or 7 days of different arena football gear on Twitter.
Yeah, he seems to be going through the 7 stages of grief right before us on Twitter.
And he looks sad every time, and I don't blame him. I'm sad too. And yeah, I'm surprised that it's all done. I kind of had in my head, well, geez, I could make it out to. It would be pretty awesome if I could do like a 3-day weekend, do a Baltimore, a Washington, and a Atlantic City all at once. That would be really cool, but that's not going to happen. So arena football is my surprise of the year. And you know what? I remember 2 years ago, my surprise of the year was I thought I had been to my last arena football game. And 2 years later, this was it.
Yeah, I had a chance to go to that Columbus game and meet up with Dave, and I decided not to do it just because of the Grand Rapids trip. And I kind of regret that now, because that would have been my last official Arena Football League game. So when it folded, I was like, man, I should have appreciated that when it happened. But also Arena Fan. That's the first website I wrote for and was able to get press passes that got me into what I'm doing now as this wonderful hobby. And I don't know if I would be right now. I don't know if I'd be on this podcast right now with you guys if it wasn't for Arena Fan way back in 2001. So it is sad to see those guys not being able to enjoy arena football. I know some of them have said they would root for some other indoor teams, but they're not going to cover anything but arena football. So that definitely was not a surprise. It's definitely a sadness, heartbreaking loss. So we just thought that league was indestructible. They would always find a way to make it, and unfortunately couldn't make it this time.
Yeah, I think they finally ran out of lives. Like a cat with 9 lives.
Nine lives. You're absolutely right.
Finally hit the end of the road. So I wasn't really prepared for a best surprise category, I guess. And there's so many big news things went on. So, I'm going to go a little personal with my biggest surprise of the year is the deterioration of my physical body. We did a day with another group of ballpark travelers called the Ballpark Stampeders, and they did a get together at Cooperstown in August. And we went down and had the Hall of Fame to ourselves. It was a great day. We got to tour the Hall of Fame. Got to spend the whole day there. Got to view a screening of A League of Their Own in a private theater that's there. But the highlight of the day was getting to play a softball game on Doubleday Field. Now, the reason this is surprising to me is, man, I was always a pretty decent softball player. And, granted, I'm in my 50s now, and I really haven't played a serious game of softball in about 20 years. And just the level of atrophy in my softball skills was amazing. I pulled a perfect Bill Buckner. I was playing second base, and I had a ground ball, nice, easy roller coming to me, and I just couldn't get all the way down to the ground to get it. Rolled right between my legs. And, there was another time I was up at bat and hit a shot to the outfield, and I almost got thrown out at first, man, because I just can't run. So it was fun, but the good thing about it was a bunch of, mostly a bunch of middle-aged people, so we were all in the same boat, and we all had a great time. A great experience. We hope to get Tim Parks, who is the leader of the Stampeders, on the show at some point, because it's a fun program and kind of overlaps a lot with what we do. So that was, maybe the most fun day I had at a ballpark this year. So that'll be my best surprise. I wasn't expecting to be that horrible at softball.
Don't you hate when that happens? When
it was a rude awakening. It was a rude awakening, I tell you.
That's how I feel with kickball sometimes.
Yeah. I remember one time you had a buddy of yours put something on there, and I kind of made fun of him. And his response was, "Looks like you haven't run the bases in a long time, buddy."
Yeah. And it's funny because both you guys are Boston guys, so I'm like, settle down, gentlemen. You both root for the same teams.
It was good natured. And boy was he right. So. So that puts a nice bow on 2019. Let's take a quick minute and look ahead to 2020. What do you guys got coming up that you're really looking forward to in 2020?
Well, I'm looking forward to the new soccer stadium in Louisville. It's currently being constructed as we speak, and it will be ready for the Louisville City FC Club in April. And I believe they're also going to have a women's team in the NWSL, I think, for 2020 as well. So not just a new stadium, but also a new female soccer team. And I'm also waiting to hear what Major League Baseball thinks they're going to do with some of these minor league baseball clubs, because I just can't see all these teams being contracted. But, we'll find out. And I'm also excited what the Florence Freedom, that's an independent league team in the Frontier League, what they're going to change their name to. I submitted the Whiskey Thieves, and I hope they pick it, because I'll have lifetime tickets to see games there. So I'm looking forward to those things off the top of my list, and hopefully I can hop in a plane and fly someplace on the West Coast and check out some more venues, because every year I make a list, and I feel like I make such a big list I can't do all of it. But
yeah, I know that.
Yeah. Like when I was younger, I could. When I wasn't married and I didn't have a mortgage and I just had to pay $500 in rent. You had tons of money just lying around.
I remember that.
Oh, good old days.
So, did you guys hear what the speaking of rebranding, the Connecticut Tigers rebranded to?
Oh God, the unicorns.
Is that the unicorn one?
The Norwich
Yes.
Sea Unicorns. Yeah. So that's all I'm going to say about that.
That's a
Dave,
mouthful.
anything exciting coming up in 2020?
Oh man, I am so looking forward to vacation. Yeah, we're heading to Florida, so I'm totally looking forward to that. What else am I looking forward to? The possibility of getting to see the puck wall maybe in February. Crossing my fingers on that one.
All you got to do is go to hockeydocs.com. It's there.
No, that's like saying, I saw a picture of the Hockey Hall of Fame and it was great. That's not the same. Maybe going to Denver over March break. But the one thing that I'm really looking forward to is in October. My wife's work conference is in Austin, Texas. And I am really looking forward to Texas against West Virginia.
Does it line
Football
up?
at Darrell K. Royal, Texas Stadium.
Nice. Nice. Okay. Well, I guess that's the end of your list.
And
That's
barbecue.
All right. So,
Definitely barbecue.
2020 for me. I can't say I'm looking forward to it, but this will be the last season of the Paw Sox at McCoy Stadium. So there's going to be lots of memories, good and bad. I'll be there, I think, quite a bit this year. So that'll be interesting. Labor Day, the last game, is going to be very, very, very difficult for me. But we'll talk about that when the time comes. So every year I take a big trip in the winter focusing on hockey and a big trip in the summer focusing on baseball. This winter, actually in the month, the end of January, we're going out to Los Angeles. We're going to catch the AHL All-Star Game in Ontario. And while we're out there, we're going to try to catch the Clippers and the Kings and the Ducks. It doesn't look like we'll catch the Lakers. Tickets are like $200 a piece. So if I spent that much money on a basketball ticket, Pam would kill me. So the Lakers are probably out, but we'll find something to do in LA, I'm sure. So looking forward to that.
Few things to do.
Yeah. Oh, I think I'll find one or two things to do in LA. And then this summer will actually be our 10th anniversary. So we haven't figured out what we want to do yet. We had always said that for our 10th, we want to do something big. So we had come to the decision that Alaska was what we wanted to do. But I'm lucky enough that my travels are always tied into sports at least a little bit. So looking at Alaska and sports, very limited. The only things I would really be interested in Alaska would be the Midnight Sun baseball game.
Yeah.
Or, I'm also halfway through the NCAA Division I college hockey rinks, and there's 2 teams in Alaska. But I don't know if I want to go to Alaska in November. And I don't know if I want to go to Alaska in June either, because this year we took our big summer trip in June, and it's a long way from June to January for big trips. So we haven't decided what we're going to do yet. So stay tuned. We'll figure it out. Figure something good out. We always do. So that's what I'm looking forward to in 2020. And that ties up. That does it for 2019 for us, guys. Yay. And I want to thank everybody for tuning in. And Dan, I know you're there stalking somewhere. Where can our listeners follow you online?
Follow me at DanLaw83.
And by the way, Kelly, who was born in the Norfolk area, approves of the Sea Unicorn's name that we were all just trashing.
No. She was literally born in Norwich.
Oh, she was born in Norwich. Okay.
Yeah, her grandparents lived right across the lake from what eventually magically became Uncasville. Yeah, don't let her hear you say that. I'm going to mute now so she doesn't come in here and kill us all.
Okay, good idea. Mark, any stadium journeys planned for you, and where can our listeners follow you online?
You can follow me on Instagram or Twitter, Ballpark Hunter. I'm going to check out Chicago State basketball within the next few weeks. I have vacation coming up, so I'm going to try to hit some of those Chicago collegiate venues along with Northwest University, but that might be, or Northwest Northwestern. That might be more towards January, but I don't think we're on until January 9th, 7th. So that's
7th.
yeah, that's a good that's a good question. So hopefully Chicago State's on my list around Christmas time, and then maybe some high school venues in Michigan City. That's another big one that makes it. That's like the only top 10 basketball arena I haven't been to in Indiana, and I can't think of anything else. I like to get out to Illinois State as well in Eastern Illinois because I haven't been out there yet, and we need the review. So I have 2 weeks off. So one day I may wake up and just drive out there and do a couple reviews if it works out. So I'll keep you.
I don't know what these vacation things that you talk of are, you teachers.
Well, I think what bothers me is that like Dave makes plans to go to Florida around Christmas time, and I keep my butt either in New Jersey or Chicago, freezing my tail off. So he's the smart one out of the group. So
No, it's the boss. She's like, I want to go somewhere warm.
well,
Okay.
So, Dave, anything planned over the next month for you? Yeah, obviously there is. Where can our listeners follow you?
Are you ready for this?
Let's do it.
Okay, here we go. Starting Friday, it's back to the Budweiser Gardens London Knights. On Saturday, it's down to Michigan for the Michigan Wolverines and basketball. Going to hang with our buddy Paul Sweeney and a couple of guys who have never been to big-time college basketball, so that's pretty exciting. Got my review of the Toronto Raptors coming up on the 20th. 21st, I'm heading to Detroit again for Detroit Mercy Titans basketball. 23rd, I'm going to do the review for the Toronto Maple Leafs again. And then we head stateside after Christmas, so into the warmer weather. So Charlotte Hornets on the way down. Then when we hit Florida, Jacksonville Jaguars. We need a review of Jacksonville Dolphins basketball, so I'll be there. Pretty excited to head over to Florida State for Florida State Seminoles basketball on New Year's Eve. New Year's Day is, of course, the Gator Bowl with the Tennessee Volunteers. And Mark, I'm really hoping your Indiana Hoosiers bring it and bring the people to bring the atmosphere. So Gator Bowl on the 2nd, and then on the way back, it's the Carolina Hurricanes, and I'm really hoping for a storm surge when we're there. And you can follow all of those things on Twitter and Instagram at ProFan9.
I do not root for IU.
I should have gone first, Dave, because I can't follow that up.
no.
Let's
No,
see.
you never
Over
can.
the next month until we get back together, I'm going to Springfield this weekend, Springfield, Massachusetts. I'm going to do a hockey doubleheader, catch American International, and then the Springfield Thunderbirds. And our buddy, where is he? Leslie Allen Greer, Stanley from The Office is going to be there, so we'll say hi to him again. And in 2 weeks, I hope to be going to Danbury. I don't think that sentence has ever been said before.
Ooh.
Going to head over.
Tricks.
If the new granddaughter doesn't arrive at that time, we'll be catching, hopefully, the Danbury Hat Tricks of the Federal League and the Connecticut Whale of the NWHL in a doubleheader. So you can follow my travels on Twitter or Instagram at PuckmanRI. And like we said, we're taking the next couple weeks off for the holidays. Tuesday in 2 weeks would have been Christmas Eve, and none of the wives would allow us to record a podcast on Christmas Eve. So we're going to take that off. We're going to all get back together on January 7th. And our topic that night will be what happens when teams relocate. And in the meantime, check out our website, stadiumjourney.com. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Stadium Journey. You can find, yes, Dave.
Are you going to be okay for that one?
The 7th?
Yeah. The topic. You're not going to break down on us?
Thanks, man. I wasn't even thinking that.
Okay.
No. I'll be all right. I'll be all right.
Okay. You need me to send you some tissues?
I'll make sure I bring some for that podcast. Watch us on Twitch and watch Paul cry.
Bring up Kleenex.
Where was I? Stadium Journey podcast. Find us at thebradyhicks.com. You can watch the podcast, video podcast on YouTube at youtube.com/danlaw83. Follow
Stadium
HIAC
Journey
Talk
channel.
Radio. Yep, we're not there yet, so I don't want to push it too hard. But yeah, subscribe to Dan's channel. Subscribe to the Stadium Journey channel. Subscribe to Mark's channel. Hey, I got a channel too. Subscribe to mine.
Yes, Ballpark Hunter, YouTube.
I think I got 3 videos on mine. Mine's easy to subscribe to. Follow HIAC Talk Radio on Twitter at HIAC Talk Radio. So for Dan Calachico, Mark Viquez, and Dave Cotney, I'm Paul Baker, wishing you all close games, safe journeys, and happy holidays.